So now you're going to get to hear from me for a bit. So the piece that I'm doing, my song is one that I suspect will be unfamiliar. In fact, I'll actually be surprised if anyone knows it, although my fellow Anglophiles will likely recognize the tune. Um, Also, this song is not necessarily a favorite Christmas carol of mine. I know I set the rules for the service for everyone else to follow, and now I'm breaking them. Please do not tell my children or my students this. So the song isn't specifically a favorite, but it's something that felt like it fit. So the idea actually came to me while I was baking bread the week before Thanksgiving. I've found that kneading bread is a really good time to think. You have to be very physically present for several minutes. Your hands are required, but your thoughts aren't. So it's a good time to think. And I was going through, Kathy and I had talked about it and decided, okay, this is a good plan for the service. We'll have people presenting music. And that's great, except that means I have to come up with something. And so I was trying to think through my favorite Christmas music and what would I want to sing. And it's like, oh, that piece is wonderful, but the best part of it is singing against the tenor line, and I don't have a tenor. Anything by Rudder, the whole point of it is choral harmonization, and can't do that during a pandemic. Let's see, that one, no, what I really enjoy about that is singing a descant over a full choir. That's out. Ooh, my favorite arrangement. No, that's a trio. All right. Do I sing anything that's a solo? I'm not sure. So I was trying to think of at least choral pieces that could be adapted as a solo. And this one came to mind. So this is something that the choir I grew up in sang most years for the Sunday after Christmas, primarily because it's appropriate for the Sunday after Christmas, but mostly it's very simple. And after all of the work and preparation putting together a full lessons and carols service for Christmas Eve, by the Sunday after Christmas, the choir needed something very simple and basic that we could just kind of pick up and do and make work. And as I said, it's very fitting for the Sunday after Christmas. The words are appropriate. And as I was thinking through it, they really resonate for me this year. So, of course, being the academic that I am, I decided to go research. Where did they come from? What is this? And it turns out the lyrics for what I'm used to being this choral piece are, in fact, a poem written by the British Methodist minister and hymn writer Fred Pratt Green. He served a very long career as a minister from 1928 through 1969, and then after 40 years as a pastor in his retirement became a prolific hymn writer. A lot of his works haven't made it across the Atlantic so well, but he may be best known here for having written "When in Our Music God is Glorified." So some of you may recognize that hymn. It turns out this particular song that I'm doing is not one that he wrote as a hymn. It was simply a poem that he wrote for his personal Christmas cards that he sent out to his friends and loved ones in 1975. And he simply called it A Carol for the Sunday After Christmas. The poetic imagery of the piece mixes the Holy Family preparing for their flight into Egypt, as Judy read for us from Matthew, with kind of more modern images trying to capture some of that feeling of letdown after Christmas. And that really felt to me like the right way to capture Christmas in this year. His idea that he's starting from is kind of trying to put yourself in the place of the Holy Family, right? Of Mary and Joseph. The Magi and shepherds have gone back home. The angels have gone. You're back to your mundane daily life and can't help wondering, was any of that real? did Christmas even happen? And that really felt like something that was going to resonate this year when Christmas would be missing so many of our traditions and touchstones, when we wouldn't be gathering with family and loved ones except, in a virtual space like this, when we wouldn't be having our large gatherings. For me, trying to think about Christmas music without singing descants with 100 people in a candlelit sanctuary. Yeah, this year, did Christmas even happen? And what comes next? So that's kind of the mindset that brought me to this song for this year. I know it as an arrangement called Beyond Christmas that was arranged by Alfred Fedak. Um, and as I said, it's not necessarily a favorite, but it is something that has some memories attached to it because, again, the choir I grew up with sang this many years. One piece that or one kind of memory, I am unable to get through the second verse without remembering something from my home congregations. I suppose we could call them choir quippers, but in that congregation, we pretty much just referred to them as the bass section. Um, so, but there was one a year when I was probably in high school that one of them profoundly announced that this piece had brought a new biblical insight that the Holy Family in their flight to Egypt had subsisted on venison. And as he anticipated and expected, everyone just kind of stared at him. Well, there is a lyric in the second verse of wherever we travel, the food will be dear. Um, Clearly, with green being British, that was DEAR and meant in the sense of very expensive or hard to come by. But, to a choir quipper from the Midwest, obviously, venison sausage is where his mind went. Um, and the more recent memory attached to this song is this is what the choir I grew up with sang last year for the Sunday after Christmas, and I was there with them. We packed up right after Christmas and flew to the Midwest to spend some time with friends and family back in the area where we grew up, having no idea at the time that we wouldn't have the opportunity to see any of them again for who knows how long. Also, I gladly got up on Sunday morning despite, the time zone and difference and went and they I don't think it was the robe that was measured for me when I was in high school, but they found me a robe and I joined the choir loft not knowing that that was going to be the last time I'd be singing Christmas music with a choir for probably even longer than it'll be before I'll see my mom again. So yeah, this song kind of has a lot of weight to it. And as I said, the arrangement I knew it by is called Beyond Christmas. But when I started doing research, I found it being referred to elsewhere as New Courage. And this is taken from the closing line of the poem turned hymn, which is a prayer asking for new courage to face the new year. And if that's not apt for 2020, I don't know what is. So, show of hands in your Zoom squares. How many of you are looking forward to 2020 being over? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, I thought I'd get some enthusiasm on that, right? I think the countdowns this Thursday to New Year's will be particularly fervent countdowns. This is definitely a year we're going to be very glad to see go. But that's not going to fix things. I mean, as much as I very much wish it would, January isn't going to just wipe away everything that made 2020 such a hard year. My training may be as a plant geneticist, not a virologist, but I can say with some confidence that viruses do not read calendars. And many of the other things that have metaphorically plagued us in 2020, uh, systemic racism, food insecurity, financial inequality, police abuse of authority, those aren't products of 2020. They've survived many turns of the calendar, and they're not going to vanish when the year turns. So, as much as we wish it would, January 1st, 2021 isn't going to bring an end to the pandemic. It isn't going to bring resolutions to hunger and homelessness. It won't end racism and sexism, homophobia, transphobia. It's not going to reverse climate change. It's not going to stop the criminalization of poverty or bring freedom and security to the Palestinians, the Rohingya, or any of those suffering elsewhere around the world. 2021 can't do any of those things on its own, not unless we work to make those changes happen. Or, as Dr. Seuss says in The Lorax, one of my favorite childhood books that's still on my shelf upstairs, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Now, before you think I'm, being too depressed here, there is hope on the horizon. There's vaccine distribution happening. We can hope for new policies and laws, right? There are reasons to be glad 2020 is over and to enter 2021 with hopeful joy in our hearts. But hope isn't enough. We have to be prepared to act. We have to be prepared to be equal to the tasks ahead of us. The long work we have to commit ourselves to of transforming the world we live in into the one we hope for. So that's what brought me to this song for this year, because I can think of no better prayer for this, the last Sunday of 2020, than asking God to give us new courage to face our new year.